Hi, it's Whitney. Welcome back to my daily live show, Web3 with Whitney. This is day 6. I'm almost a week into this, and I've actually started to really look forward to it. I even get butterflies right before I go live, so it's exciting. And I hope if you've tuned in before that you've enjoyed it. Thank you to those who have watched and have been bearing through the technical challenges that I've had. Today, I'm trying things a little differently. I'm on a completely different platform. So, behind the scenes, days 1 through 5, I was using 2 platforms, one called Ecamm Live and one called Restream. And I was broadcasting to 5 different platforms through that tech, plus using TikTok, which I'm still going to do today. And I've had issues with the live streams audio or the disconnections. I don't know if it's to do any with any of those platforms, but long story short, I decided to do a trial of another program called StreamYard, which is kind of like an all-in-one. But the only downside is that I can only stream to 3 out of the 5 platforms. So I chose Facebook, my private Facebook, and cut out my Facebook page for now, my LinkedIn and the YouTube channel, and then I'm going to start the TikTok live soon too. So hopefully it works better. If it does, maybe I'll use StreamYard. But I really like Ecamm Live, so I don't know, but that's like a nerdy behind the scenes. I just wanted to thank you so much for watching this video. And if you've watched the others, I also have the link to my website right here, which I created specifically for these live streams in order for you to have everything all in one place. Because you might want to switch between different platforms, or maybe you want to listen to the audio only version of this, which I was really excited to make. And actually, let me share my screen so that you can see that. So if you go to Web3 with Whitney, there's links to all the different platforms that I'm usually on. Again, right now I'm holding off on my Facebook page and my Twitter, which is kind of a bummer because I like broadcasting to Twitter, but whatever. Then there's a whole playlist of all the past videos that you can watch if you want to catch up. And then this is like one of my favorite parts, is that you can see the audio recordings here. And then down below, something I'm working on behind the scenes is the Discord server. I talked about this in a few of the past videos. If you don't know what Discord is, don't worry about it. The simplest way for me to describe it is it's kind of like a Facebook group, but I actually think it's a lot better. And this is exclusive to people who own just one or more of something called my creator coin on Rally. It is currently 16 cents. It's gone up a few cents since yesterday. It was 13 cents, which is always cool. And you can buy one of these super easily. In fact, I encourage you to check this out if you've been wanting to better understand crypto, which is, of course, part of Web3. Rally is an amazing platform where content creators, thought leaders, basketball players, a lot of sports people are on here, musicians. It's pretty amazing. I talked about it in the very first episode of Web3 with Whitney. And I joined this platform back in August, and it allows me to create a whole economy in the Web3 world and offer special perks like access to my Discord server. So seriously, for 16 cents, you get to join the Discord server, you get to join the wellness economy that I'm creating over there, and also learn more about crypto. So that is that. Each video that I do in this series has a theme to it. And today's theme, well, usually I should say, I'm trying to do themes so that there's more structure, but I really encourage you to ask me questions either publicly or privately during the live streams, in the comments. You can reach out to me through direct message on social media. You can email me. Whatever means of communication you prefer, I'm pretty easy to find. And then once you get into the Discord server, there'll be like a whole chat hopefully happening over there. But that's a really great way just to give me feedback, make sure that everything's working. One thing I don't know that's very different today for me than usual. Oh, actually, I just answered my own questions. It shows me the live viewers and all of that. And I guess right now it's telling me I have an unstable connection. And also behind the scenes, I promise I'm going to get to Web3 in a minute. This is just the intro, but behind the scenes, it's amazing how challenging this tech is. It's actually very simple to put together, but troubleshooting it is tough. And I've had some people ask about some of the issues, and listen, I'm working every single day. Every time I broadcast, I'm trying something new. I'm tweaking things. I'm researching it. So I really mean it when I say thank you for bearing through this with me, and understanding that there's just a lot going on, and this is actually constantly tying back into Web3, where if you practice something every day, if you're committed to the trial and error, knowing you're going to make mistakes, that's the best way to learn. And last night I was like feeling embarrassed about some of the issues, like I want everything to be perfect. I want it to run smoothly, but some of that's out of my control. And I could spend this entire live stream telling you like everything it takes to set this up. I have a whole checklist going now. I mean, it's nuts, but I really enjoy it. So I hope that you've been enjoying it and getting some value. So I'm going to start the TikTok live stream and get into today's topic. At any point, you can ask questions. I will pop them up on the screen if you would like, if you're watching live. And I will answer whatever questions you have at any point, even if they're unrelated to the topic. And the topic I thought that would be interesting today, based on some recent conversations and also my own questions, is some of the crypto or blockchain lingo. So there were the Web3 lingo, whatever. All these words kind of intersect with one another. And actually, I have not been able to really perfectly or smoothly verbalize and explain what a blockchain is. Like, I know the term, I know vaguely what it is, but there's a difference between what you're thinking in your head and what comes out in your mouth and being able to answer questions. So I have a list of all of the top lingo that I've been learning through Web3. I'm going to read it out loud so that I can practice it, you can learn it, and I'll share some resources for you so that you can continue to brush up on your lingo. As I've said in many of these videos as part of this series, Web3 feels so much like learning a language. And again, you got to practice it every day. So that's what we're here to do. I'm here to help you practice along the way too. All right, I'm going to start my TikTok live stream and we'll kick things off. TikTok is a really cool platform to go live on, so I love doing it over there. There's usually a much larger community over on TikTok. And speaking of which, another little behind the scenes is that earlier today I used this brand new platform called Solve, SOLVV, and I'll link to this in the notes for today. I just gotta make a note for myself to do that. It's a really neat app and website where you can share your knowledge and learn from other people. And the solve that I participated on today was about TikTok. So if you're curious about TikTok, if you don't use it or you're currently using it, if you're trying to figure out how to maximize it more, I will link to that solve. And I put it on my Twitter and my Whit Lauritsen Instagram account if you want the link like right away. But it will be in the whole description and notes from this episode. And Solve is really neat because I'm also going to be talking about Web3 over there. And anybody can listen to a solve, but also join a solve. So if you have knowledge that you want to share, I really encourage you to do the same thing and to post it. And Heather is watching live on TikTok. And Heather, would you let me know if you can hear me okay? That is like my number one concern every time I live stream, is making sure my audio is good. That's one thing I've been having some issues with. So anyone watching live over on TikTok or the other platforms, if you could give me a thumbs up or post a comment like, yes, I can hear you, or whatever's easiest for you. I just want to make sure my audio is clear enough because I'm today using these headphones because I'm not going to get into this. I could, like I said, spend the whole live stream talking about the troubleshooting, but Heather says she can hear me, so we are good to go. Let's talk crypto and Web3 lingo today. And I want to start with, first and foremost, this terminology of blockchain. So the other day, somebody said, can you tell me what blockchain means? Can you describe it to me? And I paused and realized I could not. Like, I didn't know how to explain to somebody else what blockchain is. So I found a really good definition of that over on Amazon. So I'm going to share my screen for anybody who's watching on TikTok. One drawback to the live streams here is that you can't see me share my screen. If you want to see like all the visuals that come with these daily live streams, go over to my YouTube channel, my LinkedIn, or my personal Facebook page if we're connected there. And usually I'm broadcasting to Twitch and Twitter, just not today. So that has like a more interactive visual viewpoint of this. And as I mentioned before I started my TikTok today, I have the podcast as well, but that's not visual whatsoever. So I'm going to pull up on my screen two things. One is my Notion notes, which I've referenced over and over again in this series. It's just an amazing place to organize things. And one of the ways that I use it is to keep track of everything that I'm learning about Web3. And one of the pages that I created in my Notion document is crypto lingo. I feel like I should change it to blockchain lingo or Web3 lingo because it's not just about cryptocurrency. So first and foremost, let me define what blockchain technology means. This ensures the security and public availability of transactions and identities without supervision from governments, corporations, or another regulatory body. And to me, that is really awesome, right? That's part of the appeal here. I think a lot of people are not happy with the way the government runs things. They feel out of control. Now, of course, the government has things in place to protect us, and in a lot of ways, it's in our interest as a society. But in certain ways, it may not feel that way. It may not feel very organized, and you might want to have a little bit more control. This is really at the core of what Web3 means. So that's blockchain for you. Now you know how to describe it. Just think about it as being without the supervision of government, corporations, or another regulatory body. At least now, one thing that I'm like trying to better understand is like, okay, is this always going to be this way? What happens when we fully transition into Web3? The government is likely going to get involved at some point, right? Corporations are already getting involved. So this definition, I feel like, has some gray areas, at least from my current understanding. There's also a terminology called the side chain, which I did not put in here today. So I actually want to go better understand the side chain and the definition of that, because uh, I don't know the difference between like the main blockchain versus the side chain. So let's learn that together. A side chain is a separate blockchain that is attached to its parent blockchain using a two-way peg. Don't even know what a two-way peg is, but okay. Another definition is a side chain is a separate blockchain which runs in parallel to the Ethereum mainnet and operates independently. Okay. And this is the thing, this is the reason I wanted to focus this whole episode on Lingo, because a lot of these definitions reference back to something else that you may not understand. So for me, it's like I need to see it applied. I need to have the visuals. I need to have the practice. So if this feels like it's going over your head, I can relate. Another word that I really wanted to focus on today is the term decentralized. And I found a great article on Amazon, of all places, on AWS, that goes into some depth about what decentralized means. But the quick bullet points of it before I show you that is decentralized refers to the transfer of control and decision making from a centralized entity, like an individual, organization, or group, to a distributed network. Decentralized networks strive to reduce the level of trust that participants must place in one another and deter their ability to exert authority or control over one another in ways that degrade the functionality of the network. So to me, the keywords here is control, right? It's understanding that you can be part of the decision making, you can have more control. It's taking it away from the individuals and distributing it more, right? And again, this is the big appeal of Web3, is that equality there. Now, certainly we will see a lot of people fighting for control. I already feel like I'm seeing this. This is one of the main reasons that I wanted to do these daily videos, is to talk about it in a way that's very down to earth and not coming across like I have it all figured out. and learning from other people. So I really want to encourage anyone who's watching live or the recording to share your opinions on these things, to share your knowledge and your resources. I'm going to say this every single video because it's not about that power of control where it feels unbalanced to everybody else. It is about a circular, community-oriented focus here where we're learning together, we're empowering each other. We're not trying to dominate one another. And that to me is one of the biggest appeals. And I see some people giving hearts, so I know I'm not alone in this. And it's very exciting to me. So I wanted to go back over to some more of the Amazon recommendations here. I will be linking to it if you want to read up from this specific page. Now, Amazon has its own set of issues, maybe not the best example, but they did break it down really well. When I was looking up what decentralization means, I found their website to be a great explanation. So it talks about the benefits of decentralization. So number one, it provides a trustless environment, which means that no one has to know or trust anyone else. Each member in the network has a copy of the exact same data in the form of a distributed ledger. If a member's ledger is altered or corrupted in any way, it will be rejected by the majority of the members in the network. So that's interesting. Okay, so like that kind of gets my wheels turning about like what exactly does trust mean? What does that look like in here? And again, how are we working together within our membership and our network? I've said many times that a huge keyword in Web3 is community. So how do we work together as a community to support one another, to vote, to make sure that things are running in the interest of people that really care about something? I think the blockchain has a really interesting way of making that happen. Now, a couple other things that I'm just going to brush over real quick because I don't want this to be only about decentralization. There's a lot of lingo to learn in Web3. But another benefit of decentralization is that it improves data reconciliation. It reduces points of weakness, which is actually really interesting. This is something I'm trying to learn a lot about in terms of systematic failures, right? Making sure that we're not relying on specific resources, outages, bottlenecks, all of these type of things. And corruption could be a big role in this too. And another benefit is that it optimizes resource distribution, which are provided with better performance and consistency, as well as a reduced likelihood of catastrophic failure. There's also a great outline on this Amazon page about decentralization, and it shows how decentralization compares to a centralized and distributed network. And it really breaks it down in terms of hardware resources and data control, all of security, performance, etc. So one term I'm not familiar with, at least from the shortened version of it, is an ERP system, which is centralized. What does that mean? If anyone ever knows the definition of something, throw it in here. Okay, it stands for Enterprise Resource Planning and refers to a type of software or system used by a business to plan and manage daily activities such as the supply chain, manufacturing, services, financials, and other processes. So that's an example of something that's centralized. Something that's distributed is cloud computing. And that's a huge part of the current state of the web that we're in, right? With it being Web 2 right now, we see a lot of cloud computing, which is spread across multiple data systems. It's maintained and controlled by a solution provider. And AWS is actually a version of that, which is the resource I'm using right now to understand this. And decentralized, an example of that is the blockchain. So again, just to repeat it for learning purposes, what is the blockchain? It is technology that ensures the security and public availability of transactions and identities without supervision from the government, corporations, or another regulatory body. I'm going to have to repeat that over and over again until it's like deep in my head. That's how I learn. Repetition is a big thing for me. So in this Notion document that I'm sharing over on YouTube, Facebook, and LinkedIn, there's some other terminologies that I've been hearing. One thing that I'm probably going to devote an entire episode of this Web3 with Whitney series 2 is DAO. That's DAO. That's a term you're going to hear a lot of when you're looking into Web3. It still kind of confuses me, but the best way that I've learned how to understand it is it's a decentralized way to organize a group of people. It's like a digital co-op with a shared bank account. Um, and somebody on TikTok just says, I am in IT, but Web3, it is one language that I need to know. Or is it one language? Absolutely. That's why I'm doing these daily live videos, because Web3 is where we're headed. It's kind of the present day in a lot of ways, but it's definitely the future. If you're working in technology, I think the sooner you can learn Web3, the better. It's going to really support your abilities and your skill sets. I talked about yesterday briefly how I think there's massive economic opportunity in Web3, and the sooner you get on board with it, the more the sooner you can jump on board. And being an early adopter really supports you in a lot of ways. So I hope that answers your questions. Working with data, so really understanding how data is working in Web3. All of this different terminology. And again, if you're watching on TikTok, as this person commenting is, please go over to my website that's linked on my TikTok account, because that has all of the resources I'm mentioning. If you want to go learn more, if you want to go back to previous episodes, I don't want you to ever feel behind here. I want you to stay in the know. And as I mentioned at the very beginning of this episode, I'm working on a Discord server where everybody can contribute their information and their resources too, because we're truly all in this together. All right, so let's go through some more lingo here. One thing that I heard the other day that is a phrase I guess people often use in the Web3 world is FUD, which stands for fear, uncertainty, and doubt. It's a catch-all phrase for any kind of negativity, criticism, or bad news about cryptocurrency, even if it happens to be true. This is a really fascinating, because it reminds me, of course, of the fear of missing out, right? Which is shortened to FOMO. So FUD is a similar terminology, which is just that fear, uncertainty, and doubt about Web3. And that, again, is at the core of why I'm doing these daily live streams, is that I think I don't know if I ever had fear, actually. I definitely had uncertainty and some doubt. It took me a while to get into this world. My background is that I heard about Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies over 10 years ago. And I really wish that I had jumped on board with it. But even though I knew people that I trusted that were in that world, they didn't know how to talk to me about it properly. It just kept going over my head. They also didn't know how to convince me to get on board with it. So it kept going over my head, right? Now that wasn't their responsibility. So I had to take it up on myself to learn. And now I'm doing this live series to teach others so that collectively we can reduce that fear, uncertainty, and doubt. And that really excites me, just kind of knowing that we're in it together, right? A All right, I'm back. Um, this is part of the tech issues that I've been having, is sometimes my mic just goes out. So let me double check, make sure it's working okay. It looks like it is. Okay, good. I don't know why this has been happening. I've been trying to troubleshoot it every day, and I know the audio has been one of the ongoing issues. So trying to figure it out. Anyway, so a rug pull, a scam in which developers raise a lot of money for a crypto project, then disappear with all of it. One of the most notorious rug pulls took place in 2018 when a startup called Proteum, they, after receiving a modest amount of funding, disappeared with all the users' money and only left the word penis on its homepage. Am I allowed to say that word on TikTok? I don't know. But that's the story. So that's interesting. Um, I had not heard of that. And I guess that ties into the FOD, the fear of being scammed. And I mentioned this, I don't know what day it was, maybe day 3 of this series, when I talked about Discord, which was also like my biggest tech issue day. So the recordings are not great. I'll have to go back and double check. It might have been day 2. But on one of these days where I talked about Discord, I shared how you have to be really mindful with how you're setting something like that up, because there's a lot of scamming going on in Discord. It's like a big target. There's bots. So I'm actually really taking my time to set up the Discord for Web3 with Whitney to do my best to protect you and myself. I don't want any of us to get scammed. And I'm also really being mindful of people I'm partnering with. You have to pay attention on platforms like Twitter. Twitter, you can see so much conversation around Web3, which makes it very exciting. Also, platforms like Twitch are not allowing people to spell Web3 or cryptocurrency out in certain ways. So now they have to like change up the spelling. And I've noticed when I've posted videos on my TikTok account, like regular posts, not just my lives as I've been doing. And speaking of live, for anyone watching live, will you just let me know how the quality and the audio is right now? I want to make sure that everything is working okay so that you can see me and hear me. Because on day 3, I had no idea that my audio wasn't working until like 20 minutes in, and that was really frustrating. But anyway, so Twitter is one of the places that I have really enjoyed learning and connecting with people about Web3. And when I first got into cryptocurrency, which was only back in May 2021, when I actually started to pay more attention to it, to trust it more, to buy more of it, I was also irritated with all the people trying to scam on there, all the people who were posting, things that were misinformation. And it can be really hard to sort through. This also ties back to why I'm doing this series, is I'm hoping that I can be one of your trusted sources for Web3, but also help you find other trusted sources. I've mentioned a few of them in the past videos, so definitely go back to the resource section of my past videos to find podcasts to listen to find other YouTube shows to watch, anything that I can direct you towards to help make sure that you don't get scammed. I will do my very best so that, yeah, we're all protecting each other, just like the whole idea of this decentralized and blockchain world. So there are a ton of different terms. Oh, actually, speaking of Twitter, one that I have like a link to, I don't know where this goes in my, oh, okay, here it is. I'm going to share my screen. So in my Notion, I just, for some, I think this is kind of funny. I have like a specific page on Notion to define the term GM. So when you go on Twitter and Discord, you're seeing this too, but definitely on Twitter in the Web3 world, is you'll see a lot of people writing GM in lowercase. If you do not know what that means, let me explain. It's just short for good morning. It's the default ways that people greet one another online, and it's actually regardless of the time of day. I don't think I've ever written GM. I feel kind of like unsure about it, even though I see so many people using it. I don't want to seem like I'm just writing it to try to fit in. But it is really interesting. Like it's kind of just this catch-all, like when somebody gets on Twitter for the day, or when somebody wants to like interact with other people in the Web3 world, they write GM. So there you go. And let's see if there are any other bits and pieces of lingo. Oh, well, I mean, I could go on and on. I'm going to pause because I want to check in with you and see if there's anything specific you want to talk about. I may just start sprinkling in the crypto lingo into future episodes, but my aim is not to overwhelm you. So, as a summary, let's go back to the terminology that I got into today. So, I've defined blockchain technology over and over again, but for sake of repetition, to help all of us become better at saying it, blockchain technology ensures the security and public availability of transactions and identities without supervision from governments, corporations, or another regulatory body. Now, that feels to me like a very wordy thing. If somebody asked me what blockchains meant, I don't know if that would just flow out of my me that quickly. So here's a few other definitions from Google. So blockchain is a digitally distributed, decentralized public ledger that exists across a network. So there you go. It's decentralized and public. Now, of course, you got to make sure that you understand what decentralized means, which, as I mentioned earlier, is just referring to the transfer of control and decision making from a centralized entity to a distributed network. So just think about it moving away from the individuals, organizations, or groups where everything is a little bit more controlled and, or again, the control and decision making is going towards a network of people. Um, and it's meant to alter our experience of trust on the web. All right. So that's tying back into the blockchain there. Another definition, let's see. It's most simply defined, according to builtin.com, as a decentralized distributed ledger that records the provenance of a digital asset. In previous episodes of Web3 with Whitney, I talked about NFTs. Those are a great example of a digital asset. And for those of you who are not quite up to date on that, please go back to the previous episodes where I think it was episode 4, where I talked about NFTs. And I do plan to revisit all of these things over and over again so that, again, no one feels left out. And if you have any specific questions, drop them in the chat right now if you're watching live, or send me a message and I'll make sure that they're addressed. So we talked about blockchain, we talked about decentralization. I defined what FUD means, which is fear, uncertainty, and doubt. I talked a bit about the rug pull, the scamming that goes on, and what GM means on places like Twitter. So hopefully that gets you a little bit more in the know. There's a ton of other terminology. And I want to reiterate one more time that as you're learning this, I cannot recommend enough having a place to put it all. For me, that's Notion. I'm not plugging Notion for any specific reason beyond the fact that I enjoy it. I'm not like an affiliate of them or a partner, but I just think it's great. And I love just like the simplicity of it, but you can also customize it. So sometimes I like to nerd out and like add icons. So you Speaking of tech issues, my microphone just muted again. This is really interesting. So I just got this microphone, this Shure microphone, And sorry for anyone who's watching the recording and my audio suddenly dropped. I have no idea why that happened. That's happened on all the platforms, or the platforms I've tried so far. So I'm starting to think there's something wrong with the cord or the microphone itself. But this is like a really great microphone from Shure, and something's going wrong. So something for me to investigate. As I said at the very beginning, thank you to those that have shown up multiple days in a row. Thank you for watching the recording. Thank you for asking the questions and sending me emails and all the different ways that you've reached out to show me that you're paying attention. In the early days of a project like this, it is a game changer when people just express their interest or just show that they're watching. Because for me, I want to make sure that it's valuable to you. And live streaming is tough because of all these tech issues, and live streaming is um, it's just actually a much more complicated process than it may look to a viewer. For a lot of people, and actually it all depends on each person, right? Like, I'm just somebody who goes to like all the advanced levels I possibly can, and along with that comes some of these issues. So thanks again. I appreciate you. I'll be back again tomorrow. I'm scheduled for 2:45 Pacific time. That is Monday, and I'll be back Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, etc. As long as I'm doing this indefinitely. So stay tuned. Go to whitneylorton.com/web3 with Whitney to find everything all in one place. And I hope to hear from you in between my sessions. Bye.